Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about a couple of the big time bowl games coming up this weekend. I want to make sure I got some picks out for that one, including my very favorite one coming up at 3:30 today. Georgia Tech Vanderbilt, going to be an absolutely incredible matchup between two offenses that have been just so much fun to watch throughout this year. But let's get to all the rest of the bowl games. We got a ton of bowl season madness, and it's all overtime. It seems like everyone wants to go to overtime around this time of year, and I've absolutely loved it. It feels like bowl season is kind of being revived just a little bit throughout this year, and hopefully we can keep it rolling into next year. But it's been an incredible start to this, and let's first give you an update on all the games that have already happened, because we got a lot of games to get to. Tons of games on Saturday, so want to make sure you're updated on all the stuff that has happened thus far. UTSA just rolls Coastal Carolina, really dominant performance, especially from that defense. Nothing on the ground for Coastal Carolina in this game, and UTSA finishes out their season with a big time win where it was not even in question from the jump. But the rest of them were very much in question very long after the jump. NIU gets a big-time win, 28-20 in double overtime over Fresno State. Was a very fun game. And NIU, they had to start their backup quarterback, Josh Holtz, in this game. Was really good. In relief duty for Ethan Hampton, I believe he caught a touchdown pass. I could be mistaken in that. Maybe he just caught a pass and came up a little bit short, but it was an incredible game. It was absolutely awesome to watch, and a lot of really cool, fun storylines there. And Thomas Hammock had the quote-unquote, these are his words, the best dump of his career. I'm going to leave it at that. You can take with that what you will, but that was quite the quote. But at the end of the day, then we got a little bit crazier. We got a 5 overtime game on Christmas Eve that was just really fun to watch. It was one of those things where you're staying up late on Christmas Eve. You weren't expecting to get a bowl game all the way on Christmas. They got us to midnight. It was an incredible matchup between South Florida and San Jose State, but South Florida came out on top with that craziness that we get into the end of the game that probably does need to be fixed, but in bowl season, it's plenty of fun. I'm very much into it, but Sean Atkins had a huge game in this game for USF, going to be his last game in those colors, so great to see him kind of explode in this one. Oh, excuse me, got a little bit ahead of myself there. Pitt Toledo, a 6 overtime game just to one up USF or San Jose State. Remarkable game. This one was back and forth. Julian Duggar came in for Pitt, did a great job at quarterback. Kind of a guy that we maybe should be watching as we head into next year. I think it's going to be Eli Holstein, but Julian Duggar will be very ready to go. And then Tucker Gleason was incredible in this game, and a lot of it went to Junior Vandross. He went for almost 200 yards receiving. Remarkable offense from Toledo really throughout this one. Pitt really tried to push him late in that game, but Toledo was able to keep their cool, make that final last play. A couple of crazy things that happened in those double and triple and quadruple overtimes that were reviews and all over the place. But Toledo came out on top. It was very chaotic, but an incredible game. And then we got a really good one after that. We got Kansas State coming back from 17 down in the second quarter, 196 yards from Dylan Edwards, a KSU record in the bowl game. Remarkable performance from all those guys, and definitely a really fun one. We didn't get the battle between Kyle Montague and DJ Giddens that I very much wanted. We got plenty of running back battles in this one, no doubt about that. So it was a really fun game there. And then Arkansas State was able to close this one out. A little bit sketchy towards the end of this game, but Corey Rucker gets the game ball, 107 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Harold Fannin, how do people guard this guy? 17 catches, 213 yards, 1 touchdown. He has an FBS record for tight end receiving yards in a season. The kid is an absolute freak, and he's going to be so much fun to watch at the next level. Him and Tyler Warren will be the top 2 tight ends off the board, and I cannot wait to see what this kid can do. I think he might just have a gold jacket in his future, frankly. Let's get into all the games that are going on today and going into tomorrow, and we'll start with this one. This is a fascinating game to me. Navy's coming off that huge win over Army that they absolutely love to get, and then Oklahoma, they're into the offseason a little bit. They're playing around in the portal here and there, have lost a number of guys, have started to bring in a couple of reinforcements. It will be Michael Hawkins at quarterback once again this season. So they started with Jackson Arnold, went to Michael Hawkins, went back to Jackson Arnold. Now the Jackson Arnold's over in Auburn, Alabama. It will be Michael Hawkins for this game. But this is going to be the last game in a OU uniform for Danny Stutzman. And that's about all I need to know. I think he's going to go absolutely crazy in this game against a run team. The best run defender in the country at linebacker is going to have a huge day. I think Oklahoma wins this game. Probably a pretty ugly win if I had to imagine. Defensive battle, but I do think Oklahoma gets this win. I think Danny Stutzman has 20 tackles at the end of this thing. Texas Tech, Arkansas, a very interesting game here. Two teams that are heading into just massive off seasons. And Texas Tech has really gotten a kickstart in the portal while, excuse me, while Arkansas has taken blow after blow in that department. They have lost a ton of big-time players. Jaquindon Jackson to the NFL draft and just about everyone else to the portal. It's been an absolute nightmare up there in Fayetteville, but for Texas Tech, they're rolling right along. They'd love to get a win here to just continue to build that momentum. But the question is, for Arkansas, is what is this quarterback battle going to look like? You have Baron Morton, who's played relatively solid football throughout this year, been a little bit up and down at times, and then you have Taylon Green, a remarkably athletic kid, one of those guys that when you hit that ceiling, when everything is clicking for him, he can beat just about anyone in the country. Things go wrong pretty quickly, and that's the big question I have here. I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to keep everything the way that he wants it to in this game. I think Texas Tech finishes off the year with a big-time win. I think they move forward and have a very interesting team going into 2025. This is the one that might just be a little bit lopsided if I had to imagine, because you have a team in Syracuse that is coming off a remarkable win over Miami, a remarkable year one under Fran Brown that seems to be a program that's heading very much in the right direction. And then you got Washington State, who has lost their head coach. They've lost their offensive coordinator. They've lost their starting quarterback. They've lost a number of guys on both sides of the ball that are starters. I don't know what this team's going to look like. I don't know what the depth chart looks like. I don't know who's starting at quarterback, and I probably should if I'm being totally honest, but I don't even know who's starting at quarterback for this Washington State team going into this one. Whoever it is, congratulations. You're probably going to be the quarterback of a great team next year because Cam Moore and John Mateer just kind of set up that way for you, so you might as well just follow that path. But at the end of the day, going to be a really, really fun game here. I just think it's going to be a rout. I think Syracuse has so much going for them in that direction. I think that Washington State defense is going to have just their hands full against that team that can really throw the rock around the yard. It will be Kyle McCord's last game. Could it be his last game? I believe it will be his last game at Syracuse, so going to be one he wants to put on a show in. I tend to believe he will in a big-time win. UConn, North Carolina, a very interesting one because it feels like that line should be bigger. When you see those two teams right next to each other, it just feels like that line should be bigger, but UConn has done an incredible job. Jim Mora has done a great job getting those guys ready to roll and has played some really solid football against some really good teams throughout the year. Pushed NC State to the absolute wire in that one, and they'll try to do the same exact thing here, but UNC, you got to put on a show. You got to show Bill Belichick that you, You got to show Bill Belichick that you are the guy that he wants to keep around rather than the guy that he'd rather see hit the door. And the big one here is going to hit the door at the end of the day is going to be Omarion Hampton. He is out the door one way or the other to the NFL draft, but at the end of the day, I think he dominates in this one. I think he absolutely rolls over UConn. I think he puts on a crazy performance to finish out his North Carolina career that has been absolutely historic, and I think they get a pretty comfortable win here. Boston College, Nebraska, a very interesting game between two teams that Boston College did lose Thomas Castellanos. The thing is, he didn't start down the back half of the season. So it is going to be Grayson James in this one, Dylan Raiola on the other side. It's going to be a really fun game. I think Nebraska is looking at this offseason with a lot of question marks, with a lot of things that they're going to have to fix. This would be a nice kickstart. There's no doubt about that. They've already brought in a couple of big-time transfers that we'll talk about here in a second, but really talented players all across the field for this game. I'm going to lean towards Nebraska. I know it sounds crazy, and if it's a one-score game, I'm going to be really regretting that decision, but I'll go with Nebraska in this one. I'll lean their direction, and we'll see if they can really build off that one going into 2025. Louisiana TCU, a very interesting matchup here between two quarterbacks that are very much under the radar, but very fun to watch. Ben Woolridge over at Louisiana can throw the rock around, play some really good football, definitely can make some plays with his legs. Josh Hoover, the exact same thing. He just cannot get out of my head him and Max Duggan. They feel like the same exact player to me. They feel like a guy that could really explode in 2025 if he's put in the right situations. Definitely going to be really interesting to watch as you get into 2025. But for this game in particular, I'm watching Cam Cook. He's been the running back all year. The run game has been absolutely terrible for TCU. this might be an opening where you can get him that game, that one game that he really needs going into 2025, where I think he could be an absolute star. I think this might just be that game. I think Cam Cook puts on a little bit of a show. I think TCU wins this one and give me the points. I'll take them by at least 14 in this game. Miami of Ohio against Colorado State, two of the really fun teams in the Group of Five this year. Miami of Ohio came up short against Ohio in that MAC title. Colorado State came just short of a Mountain West title berth against Boise State. Two very experienced quarterbacks in Brett Gabbert and Braden Fowler-Nicolosi. Going to be a really interesting matchup here. Both teams very solid defenses, especially Colorado State. That was kind of the reason that they were rolling as well as they were, but at this one, I just think Colorado State has too much. I think Torrey Horton is going to be a player that's going to make some type of play in this game. Is he playing in this game, frankly? That is something I'll be on the lookout for. I'm not actually sure if he's playing in this game or not. I think there will be enough offense for Colorado State in this one, and I think they'll just be suffocating on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll pick Colorado State, get them to 9 wins on the year. A little bit of an upset here, but not by too much. Then we got a battle for North Carolina here. East Carolina against NC State. Going to be a really fun one. Caden Hauser, who came over from Michigan State this past year, has done a great job at East Carolina. Has been a really, really good player for them. And then CJ Bailey, a guy that I cannot wait to watch in 2025. I'll get one more look at him in 2024, and I think it's going to be a really, really fun one to watch. Both defenses definitely have the ability to slow this thing down and cause issues for these offenses, so it's going to be really interesting to watch. It's going to be a fun battle between two teams that I think East Carolina hasn't quite gotten the respect they deserve throughout the season. NC State probably didn't deserve too much respect, but I think this will be a CJ Bailey show. I think they'll get plenty of respect after this game because I think CJ Bailey is special. I think he has every ability to be one of those guys that bursts onto the scene next year, takes his team to a possible ACC title. I think it starts here. Even without Kevin Concepcion, I'm going to take this NC State team to make a big-time statement here. And then Louisiana Tech against Army, the one that has a little bit of interesting dynamics here. It was going to be Marshall right up until that Navy game that Army played that came out on the wrong side of, but it flipped over to Louisiana Tech because they were in Shreveport, so huge shout out to them for even being able to play in this game, but remarkable game, and we get to see Bryson Daly do his thing. I think there's no analysis here. There's no breaking it down. It's a 16.5-point spread. I think Bryson Daly goes to work in this one. I think he's very mad about the performance that he put on against Navy. I think he wants to get to 12 wins, and I very much think he will. I'll take the Black Knights to roll in this one, probably win by 21, 28 points if I had to imagine. But a lot of really fun bowl games. You know, bowl season has been one of those things that over the past couple of years we started to bury, started to say it doesn't matter to these players, to these coaches, because they're opting out and everything. The reality is we've gotten some great matchups, and if you see the passion on those kids' faces, it matters to them. There's no doubt about that. So, bowl season, making a minor comeback. I'm trying not to hold out hope too much because it tends to be when something good is happening, there's something bad right on the horizon for college football. But at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy this while I can. We have a ton of players that are not opting out, deciding to play. We have a ton of really fun games. It's been an awesome bowl season as we head into this 12-team playoff that is about to get really crazy. The bowl season's kind of got us ready for that. So, been an incredible time, but we'll break those down obviously more and more throughout the week. We'll break down all the results from this past weekend, but definitely want to get to all the transfer portal news because there's been quite a lot. It's kind of tempered down over the last little bit. A lot of guys going out, not quite as many coming in, so feels like we're coming to a little bit of a lull, but plenty of updates I want to get on y'all's plate before we get to hopefully a little bit of a lull in the transfer portal, but we'll break it down right after this, so stick with us.